So for regular expressions, you guys may think of this or use search features, right? In a website, you hit Control F, you do a search, it looks for that particular word, finds it, and returns it, right? So if I'm on this page, I hit Control F, and I type in Canada, you can see that it found Canada on the page. At its most basic search, that is a regular expression, meaning it didn't matter if it was capitalized, lowercase, whatever else, it's going to find the word Canada wherever we find it. They could also find the words with can in it. So we can see Canada and can down here at the bottom, and it returns 67 results on this particular page. So the concept behind regular expressions is we need to set it to be either super precise or we need to be able to add a little bit of extra on the back end to accept some additional answers. You can also do this for searching through phone numbers, for example. So in the United States, you will see something like 415 is your area code, 555-1234. But that is not the same as this particular number here, right? It has a very specific pattern. And across seas, that may be a completely different pattern that would show up over there. So email addresses, we can always recognize those as having something at symbol in there. Social security numbers have 9 digits with 2 hyphens in them. Website URLs are going to have periods, forward slashes, colons, etc. So what we want to do is be able to find patterns of text without using regular expressions. And so what this would be is before you guys learn regular expressions. For example, if we have this piece of text and we want to find out, is this a phone number? Well, to do that, we would have to write code that looks a little something like this. So if we write a function is phone number, we pass it some text. We're going to first check to see if the length of text is not 12, right? Because we know a phone number should have 12 exact pieces to it. We have 4, we have 7, we have 10, and we have the 2 hyphens, which is 12, right? If it is not a length of 12, go ahead and return false right off the bat. Then for I in range of 0 to 3, for example, for every 3, making sure that the text is decimal. So if it is not decimal, then we're going to go ahead and return false. Then we would have another if that would come in here to check to see if the 4th spot in on that phone number, aka this 4th index, if that one is not a dash, then we return false. And then we go ahead and check to see if the next ones are digits. Same way on down. So it's this really complicated function we would have to write in order to test to see if it's a valid phone number. All right. So we could say, is this a phone number? It would come back and print and check whether or not those are valid phone numbers. Okay. In terms of regex, we can do that in a much easier way. So in regex, as you can see, that function took about 17 lines of code. In regex, we can simply look for /Ds. And so /D is going to look for any kind of numeric digit. All right. It's going to look for 3 of those. It's going to look for a dash, 3 digits, a dash, and 4 digits at the end. So setting this up, we need to import re. So let's take a look at re, pull up idle. All right, so to get started with regex, we got to import re for regular expression. And then at that point, get this off to the side here. We just do a phone number compile. So you'll see a line inside your code that'll look something like this. Let me get this out of the way here. Right. And what this does is set up a regular expression object, and we're going to use re.compile, and then we pass it a raw string. We learned raw strings last week. We pass it a raw string that looks for this specific object that's in here. In this case, again, it's 3 digits followed by a dash, 3 digits followed by a dash, and then 4 digits going on the outside of there. From there, we need to set up a match object. So we have MO equals phone number regex, whatever we called it up above here. So phone num regex dot search. And that's going to allow us to search through some piece of text. In this case, we could say something like my phone number is 415 5554242. And that's just a string of text. And then at that point, we can find out whether or not it found something. And that will be found in mo.group, right? So whatever this returns, if we look at the dot group, if it found something, it will show it in that variable. So we could simply print that out. We could say print. I'm going to use an F string here. And we could say something like phone number. Found. And then instead of doing the thing they do in the demo here, I'm actually just going to use that and that. All right. So if we run this, and you can see it did a search through this text up here and it found that particular case, which was that phone number. It had to match that very specifically. If we didn't have a dash in here, for example, and we run this again, you'll see that none object has no attribute group, which means it didn't find anything. So we would have to check to see if mo.group actually equals something. And if it does, print this. So we would have something like if mo.group, then we could go ahead and print this. Else print number not found. If we try to run this again, you'll see we still get no mo.group. The reason is again, there's no return that comes on through there. So we should be able to have this in here if mo.group equals nothing. Let's try that. Still not going to return it off 9. Oh yeah, sorry. Try. We got to throw this in a try because it doesn't even exist. And then this will be our accept. Okay. There we go. And now we have a number not found. So if there's such thing as mo.group, in this case, we don't even need that part. We would just want that. So that if it did find it, we put our dash back in here at the top. We can get it that it comes back and actually found that number. So regex is really handy in finding certain patterns of text that you may be wanting to pull out of a bunch of a novel or something like that you want to actually search through. Here, we're searching through a very simple string in order to pull that text out. But we could also do this, like say we download a website and we want to extract every single phone number off the website. We could do that kind of thing with regex by downloading it into text and then looking for this particular pattern in order to pull those phone numbers. You can also do grouping with this text. So if we group around this phone number, for example, here, we group around those first 3 digits, those second 3 digits, and then around the end. And we do that same search. What that allows us to do is mo.group with a 1 in there, pulls us back the first index of this tuple, which is 415, which is a what? Area code, right? We have mo group 2, which is going to be the 5554242. You have mo group 0, which is the entire thing, which is the same as doing mo.group entirely, right? What that would allow you to do is something like the multiple assignment trick, in which case you could pull out the area code for that particular thing, as well as the main number, and assign those variables so that you could use them easier inside your code. All right. So mo.groups is if you are looking for things that actually have parentheses around them, you're creating groups. Otherwise, you will never get mo.groups. You will just get mo.group if you have this original side in here where this is not creating groups. Okay. This good example here is a phone number. You may have other reasons why you want to search through and find things. If you want to find where it actually has these in parentheses, right? On some websites, we may need to have the double one in there. So if we put 2 of those in here, and in this case, we need to put the escape character before the first one. So then you would have something like this, escape, second one. Then you would have to put in that same pattern all the way through here So we would have the closing and escape the closing. As a matter of fact, we don't need it on that one. This first one. All right, so now if we run this, we can see the number's not found. However, if we actually had parentheses around this one, you can see it ends up finding that particular number. All right. Notice it won't find it if it doesn't have it in there. So it matches very hard to that case. Anytime you want to escape a particular character, remember you just use a slash in front of there. All of these characters have special meanings inside regex, so you want to make sure that you escape them if you're looking for these characters specifically inside that text. Right? So you just put a slash right in front, looks something like this in front of here. All right. If you have something like this, you can see that you have a slash and then the parenthesis and then a slash parenthesis. You got to make sure that you're doing that beforehand in order to make that fit. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that so far? All right. So we're going to take a step back. Let's go back and look at our module for this week. You'll see this link here called, yeah. The first match found. So your group one in those is the first chunk that it found in the group. It's the first chunk of parentheses in your regex. Yep. Yep. Great question. All right. This regex 101 is going to make your life a whole lot easier in understanding what regex is. All right. So use that link outside of here. What that will allow you to do is test strings and build things over here, then use it over in your Python code. So for example, if we did our /ds and our dash, right? Over here on the right, it's going to tell you, let's get rid of this guy. Oh, go away. Okay. Over here, it's going to tell you exactly what those mean. So that first /d is going to be equivalent to a 0 or 9. Next one, etc. It's going to match specifically on that hard hyphen and all the way through here. So this allows me to test different things. If I put in Jason, nothing gets found. If I put in 879-999-4743, there you go. We can see it lights up blue. If I have it in parentheses, we can see it doesn't get matched there. So what's nice is you can type a bunch of test data down here, or maybe copy and paste in whatever you're trying to test against, and then build a regular expression string up above that will test against that particular one and find out whether or not they match all the way through there. Down here at the bottom, you're going to get a reference for everything that we're about to cover today. So how do I do alternates? How do I do matches? How do I do uppercase digits, or not uppercase digits, either digits or non-digits, uppercase characters, lowercase characters, etc. All the different ways of doing things are right down here at the lower right. Pay attention to the one at the very bottom. Right? That's your hint for assignment 4. Okay. So going back to what we were doing in the session here. Oops, not that one, this one. All right. So we also have the option of using a pipe. And a pipe, if we use something like R Batman Tina Fey, will match for either Batman or Tina Fey. So it'll allow us to do a search and find either or. So we look for Batman, Tina Fey. If we have a regex and this thing says Batman or Tina Fey, it finds Batman first. If Tina Fey is first, it will find Tina Fey first. So it's going to be whatever the first one it finds in that string of text, it will return that particular one. Everybody see how that works? So the pipe symbol means or, and it's going to return either one of these, whichever one gets matched first. Okay. If we have something like Batman, Copter, etc., and we have something like Batmobile, it's going to match on Batmobile. Notice that because we have this group here, it's going to pull out that second part, which will tell us whether it matched on man, mobile, copter, or bat. And I don't want you to be a bat. All right. Optional marks, we can use a question mark. This is going to say, do we want to match on Batwoman or Batman over the top? We'll match on either one of those. So if we have the Adventures of Batman, it's going to find Batman. If we have the Adventures of Batwoman, it'll match to Batwoman. This whoa part in a question mark is going to make sure that it's optional. So if we go back to our phone number, if we put those parentheses with the optional question mark after it, that will now find phone numbers that look like this. It will also find phone numbers that look like this. So if they left off the area code, we can still match a phone number that matches this format. We could also do that with the area code with parentheses around it if we wanted to. We could match on the optional parenthesis mark at that point. Okay. We also have the option of matching with 0 or more. So we use the asterisk for this. This says we want to match on 0 or more, which means it has to have at least 0 in order to match. So if we say Batwoman and we use an asterisk here and we do the string, The Adventures of Batman, it will match on Batman going through here. We have to have at least one match. If we have Adventures of Batwoman, we can also do The Adventures of Batwoman. It will still match on there as well. Okay. Meaning that it matched this whoa, and it can do that at least 0 or more times. You may want to do 1 or more, which makes more sense for a lot of things you guys may be doing, in which case you would use the plus sign. And that plus sign is now going to make sure that it at least matches either this and it has 1 or more settings. So it's only going to match on Batwoman or Batwoman or true in that there was nothing inside Batman. Again, you can find all these down here in the lower right. So if we look at those and we go down here to 0 or more of A, we can use this question mark. It'll tell you all about how to use that. If you want to use 1 or more, we use a plus sign at the end. And if you want exactly 3 of A, then you use that in the curly braces. If you want 3 or more, you can say curly brace 3, comma, leave the backside open, which means match on at least 3. If you want between 3 and 6 matches, you use a 3, 6 over here. Right? Again, use this website. Nobody in programming memorizes all this regex. All right. If they are, that's somebody I don't want to talk to because they're way too elite for me. All right. Everybody uses some form of a regular expression builder. For the 20 years I've been out there seeing programmers, they all use some kind of regular expression builder at this point. So they'll put in what they want to match. You can match it over here on the left and right. That's one thing I forgot to do on the left over here. Make sure you click on Python over here on the left. And that way it works for the Python stuff. But all right. So don't be afraid to use this guy. It's entirely common to use regex builders out there. Matter of fact, there used to be some pretty big regex buddy and stuff like that with some pretty expensive software you could buy back in the day that would help you build all these regular expressions, because most people don't just memorize every piece of that. Too many different options and too many different places to look. All right. Let's see. We talked about the specific braces. So if you want 0 to 5, you would just leave this first part empty, comma 5. That would get you 0 to 5 instances. You also have the option of greedy and non-greedy. So what that means is Python by default is greedy, meaning that its ambiguous situations will match the longest possible string. So if I tell it to do ha of 3 to 5, it will match on the 5 first. It's greedy, right? We could tell it to be non-greedy by throwing that in there at the end, or the lazy version, which means go and find me the first instance of whatever matches here. So find me the version of 3. It will find the 3 out of there as opposed to the whole 5. All right, so far we've done search like this, right? Well, what if there's more than one phone number in this string of text that we're finding? Search is just going to find us the first instance and then return it. That's it. All right, this will be important for your homework assignment 4 as well. Search is going to find the first result and return that first result right away. Doesn't matter if there's other ones in there. If we want to find all the results, then we use find all, right? So we do and set it up the exact same way, only we're using find all instead of search, and it's going to return a list of all the ones that it found. All right. So the difference here is your mo.whatever whatever at this point, whatever you set this up, is now going to be a list that returns, and you can find all the individual results. So you can calculate its length to see how many actually return, etc., all the way through. You still have the ability to do groups. So if you have those in parentheses up here, you'll end up with groups inside of your list as well. These are all the different character common short codes, classes that you guys need to know. Lowercase d is any digit from 0 to 9. Uppercase is anything that is not a numeric digit from 0 to 9. All right, so you may want to do the opposite or the inverse of things in order to find something. /W is going to be any letter, number, or underspace character, a word character. Uppercase means anything that's not. Lowercase s is going to be a space, tab, new line. This is going to be anything that's not one of those. So these are the ones that you guys should kind of know overall. All right. You don't need to memorize every single one of these. You don't need to memorize every single one of these for the midterm exam. All right. You just need to be aware of what they are so that when you see them, because when you will do this on homework assignment 4, you understand where you can at least chase and go look it up. All right. If we look at this example here, we're going to be looking for a what? A digit, right? The plus sign says that we need what? One or more, right? Again, you can always come down here and look it up on this side. What that means is we're looking for one or more digits being matched. We're looking for a /s, which is a white space, right? Or a space character. /w is any letter, number, word, whatever's in there. And the plus tells us we want what? One or more of those characters. So when we pass in a string like 12 drummers, 11 pipers, 10 lords, 9 maids, etc., it's going to find whatever number's here, whether it's 2 characters or 1 character, because we said one or more. We're going to look for a white space, and we're going to look for one or more characters at the end and match on those characters. So if I pass it this long string, I can then get a list out of the individual pieces, which means then I can analyze as to what's going on. So this really short string up here is going to allow us to do searching through there. So if I steal this compile string and I come over here to our regex 101 and put that in up here at the top, and then I steal this text that we wanted to search through, put it at the bottom, we can see where it matched on those individual ones. We can see all the different matches over here on the right as to how it matched in between there. So notice on 7, what happens on 7 here? 7 swans. What's after the 7? It's not a space, but a new line, right? It actually has a return character that comes back. It still matches on that because we're looking for anything that is /s, which is going to look for space, tabs, new lines, etc. It will still match and work. All right. Anybody have any questions? Where we did that /s, say I did a /n. Now it's only going to match on that 7 because that's the only one that has a new line character inside of there. Everybody see how that works? Okay. You can create your own character classes. So say you aren't looking for something in that, maybe you want to pull all the vowels out of the words that you're passing into it, right? So we have A, E, I, O, U, and all caps A, E, I, O, U. You put those in square brackets, and now we want to find specifically those characters inside of what we're searching for. So if we look at RoboCop eats baby food, we can see all of the vowels that are in that particular string. All right. Say you want to match for everything that is lowercase a to z, uppercase a to z, and 0 through 9. You may want to build out your own character class that looks like this. If you put a caret in front of it, like this here, in that opening bracket, it's going to be the negative. So it means the opposite of everything of this, which means it's now going to find all the what? Consonants, right? So this was to find all the vowels. We put the caret in front. Now it's going to find all the consonants and or other characters that would match inside of there, right? So things like space, periods, etc. It's going to find all those. All right. So we got the caret, which means the opposite. You also have and that's when it's inside a square bracket. It means that. Okay. If it's outside of a square bracket and just before a regular piece of text, that's looking to see that this text starts at the beginning of this. So if I pass in a bunch of string, for example, hello world, this is going to check to see if hello is at the start of that string. And if it matches, it will return back here as well. All right. Where a dollar sign is going to look for a character at the end, so that this must end with a particular character, which means this string must end with a digit. In this case, it ends with a 2, and therefore it matches on the 2. All right. If we search through this, your number is 42. It's going to end up being none. Nothing comes back, and therefore we come back. All right. So you can search for the beginning of something and for the end of something. Just note the caret means something different when you're doing your own character classes. It means the opposite when you have it in square brackets. Again, lots of this stuff to remember. Doesn't matter. Use regex 101 and do it that way. All right. Wildcard character. This is going to allow you to put whatever character in front of what you're trying to match. For example, if I want to say a wildcard character in AT, I'm going to match on things like cat, hat, sat, lat, and mat. All right. As long as it's some character and then AT, we'll match on it. You can also use the dot star, which is going to match everything. So if we say first name, and in this group, we're going to say dot star, last name dot star, right? If we get this as the text in here, the benefit is we can extract Al and we can extract Swigert so that Mo group 1 is Al and Mo group 2 is Swigert. So if you got a long string of text, like say from a website or something else that you're trying to scan out, it's obviously hard to go find Al and Swigert in the middle of this long string, right? We would have to find first name. We would have to dump that off, use split, etc. to chop that. We want to be able to do that with a regex. We can just pass it in like this and find it. All right. Matching new lines, you have a dot star here. This is going to make sure that you also match on your new line characters as they go through here. All right. Lots and lots of different symbols that you can figure out how to do these. Again, use the regex 101 for your homework assignments as well as your midterm exam, if there's a question on there, which I'm fairly certain there's not. Case insensitive matching. Right now, we're matching on case sensitive stuff, right? If you want to match on either case, you could put re.i at the end, and that will ignore case, meaning that it will look for lowercase RoboCop, uppercase, any characters inside of that being uppercase, etc. It'll find them. All right. So we have search, which is going to give us the first result. We have find all, which is going to give us all the results. Then we have the option to substitute with this, right? This is kind of like replace all, if you guys have used that in Word, right? So you have find all, you have replace and replace all. Substitute is going to be like the replace all version of that. So what this allows us to do is find this particular chunk here with an agent, a lowercase w, which is any kind of word, right? A digit, character, number, whatever. And we need at least one or more of those. So we're looking for the phrase agent somebody. We're going to put censored in place of whatever we find for this one. And this is the string that we want to look through. So if we have agent Alice gave the secret documents to agent Bob, and we put censored in for any place that we find agent blah, we would get censored gave secret documents to censored. All right. It's like using replace all in Word. If we only want to replace the last piece and maybe we want to replace it with specific characters, this would allow us to basically bold this out, right? So this case, agent Alice, in this case, we put Alice, told Carol that agent Eve knew B. It's just going to put those those asterisks in there in place of what we want inside. All right, so you have 3 different methods that you guys need to know. Search is going to get you the first result. Find all is going to find all instances. and substitute or sub is going to replace something with it in between. Okay. For substitute, you put in what you want to change it to first, then you pass the string that you want it to do the substitute in. That will give you a result of whatever's inside of there. All right, regexes can get pretty darn complex. So if you look at this one here, here is a real regex for a phone number. So what we did before was just matching for 3 digits, dash 3 digits, etc. This one's going to match every single possible instance of what a phone number might look like in the real world. All right. That one's really hard to kind of read and understand what's going on there. So what we do is we can use re.compile, but we use 3 single tick marks, or in this case, 3 single quotes. That allows us to do multiple lines over this inside of here. Then we need to put re verbose so that we can understand. This allows you to read this a little bit better. So this first one is going to look for an area code. It's going to look for 3 numbers. It's also going to look for 3 numbers that have a parenthesis around them, right? So remember, this pipe means or, which means this first section is looking for 3 digits. The second section is looking for 3 digits wrapped around parentheses. And that parenthesis is optional. That's what the question mark means. All right. We're also looking for a separator, in which case it could be a white space, it could be a dash, or it could be a period. So if you're in Europe, they usually use periods over there to separate it. It's going to look for either one of those. We're going to find the first 3 digits here of our phone number. We're going to then find our separator, again, white space, dash, and period, and then the last 4 digits. We can also find things that have an extension number on the backside of the phone number. We can find that as well. So you can build out some really complicated regex to go through here. And again, if I was to copy and paste this line into our regex 101, you could then see over here that we could have something like phone numbers. It matched on that one, and it matched both on this area code as well as the whole number as a whole. We could do something like 785. Notice it didn't match there because I had a dash. Let's take it out. That one should have matched. It did not match. Oh. There we go. And it would find in between there depending on what we had set up in there. So it's finding all these individual groups as well as it finding the whole thing. I think this whole thing is in a group that I didn't mean for it to be in. There we go. Okay. You can build it out, play with it, and set them all up. Remember the RE's at the end. re.verbose means you're doing a multi-line going down. re.I is going to ignore the case of what's going in there. You're going to use re.all, which is just going to look for everything, and then verbose. So these are your 3 options that you have of putting it at the end. All right. If you want to practice a little bit of regexes, maybe you know of something that you're doing for your midterm project, you need to know how these work. I encourage you to go through these little practice projects. They help pretty much solidify what you need to do. Again, use regex 101 to your advantage. All right. I strongly encourage you to use regex 101 with your homework assignment for it. Again, I will walk you through most of that, but you will be using that for that piece. Anybody have any questions on regex? I know that's super fast. I'll be honest with you. You need to know just a little bit for the midterm exam, and then only if you work on it in your midterm project. So I'm not going to overly harp and stress on every single option inside of a regex. Everybody will go to sleep. All right, stop the recording.